Hello, everyone. Welcome to Poverty's Voice. Welcome back to the segment here. We're going to be talking about this happened yesterday, I think. During the first NFL game of the season, the players went out into the field. They joined together and they had a moment of silence, breaking all COVID guidelines, by the way. I don't know. They had this moment of silence. And this stirred up some controversy because fans of the NFL in the stadiums booed this moment. And I'm going to ask people for a second. I'm going to be straight up with them. I'm coming from a perspective of the left. I support Black Lives Matter. I am a progressive. And I just want everyone to take a step back and become reasonable about this, okay? Just take a quick step back and look at this objectively. Now, we're going to play the clip. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about why people booed, why this is important, and we're going to try not to jump to partisan line rhetoric and try to come to an understanding, have a discussion on policy and positions. Okay, so here it is.
What they did tonight to send out a feeling of positivity. So that's the message from those guys that are going out there as captains right now for the Kansas City Chiefs.
But now let's rejoin the public address announcer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in a moment of silence dedicated to the ongoing fight for equality in our country.
This was not during the national anthem, but listen closely. They line up. And there's the booing. I personally think this was manipulated a little bit. Seems like the booing was turned down compared to other files I heard. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I don't have evidence for that. So, and there was cheering at the end. There was also some cheering at the end. So, there was that
moment of unity. How did all of this happen? Let's go to Michelle Tafoya.
This stirred up some controversy. Whoa, did it stir up some controversy? So, what happened? People booed. And the internet, those on the left on the internet, went off. And they said, all those people that booed were racist. Possibly? I don't know. I can't make a judgment on that. I'm gonna tell you what I think more likely this was. Okay, so let's look at that. When people come together, especially during this football game, when they stand in a moment of silence, and the announcer said for equality, the fight for equality in this country, they are supporting. Basically, they're standing in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter protests. Right? We can agree with that. That's what was happening. And, okay, I'm not arguing against that. They were standing in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter protests. And in that, I think that's what comes in mind. No one hears standing in a moment of silence for the fight for inequality. And I think most people in the United States don't have this intrinsic notion that they don't like equality. There's not... Overt racism exists. It absolutely exists. No. Don't get me twisted. It's there. I've seen it. It's in my county. It's in certain communities. I just don't think it's that prevalent and that open and overt. So what was this booing about? This booing was most likely, either a pushback against politicization of... Now, these could be right-wingers, but I've seen a huge amount of people on the internet also get in and really start attacking channels that were supporting this booing. And it seemed a lot to have to do with politicization, or however you say the word, of sports. I mean, we're in a pandemic. We're still in a pandemic. People want to sit back, watch their games, and they just don't want to care right now. It does seem the country is increasingly becoming more and more divided. That is absolutely true. So there's frustration there. I could see that leading to some booing. Number two, the Black Lives Matter protests, love them or hate them, they're controversial. The methodology is being used by protesters and activists, other than if you're on the right and you believe that somehow these are anarchists coming to destroy the country, you're just completely wrong. But in another sense, the people who are there rioting, some don't have a reason to riot. I've been to a few. There are troublemakers. There are troublemakers that appear at these. There are people that are actually rioting out of anger. Okay, I give that arguing whether that's just or not is different. I'm saying I give that a little more validation. But a lot of the methodologies coming out of this are controversial. So when you're standing in solidarity and support of the fight, you're kind of inherently supporting the Black Lives Matter protests, and those have some controversy behind them. Okay. Number 3, there are people, I don't think they're overtly racist, but they don't believe that institutional racism exists in this country. Those are people on the right who do have a problem with these protests. They don't believe in institutional racism, and they have a problem with any sort of mention of this fight. They think it's virtue signaling and all of these. So, number 1, so the one I think that's most important from a political perspective is the ones, how do we address people that don't believe institutional racism exists? And well, we just need to have more dialogue. Let's open up conversations instead of shutting people down. Let's try to teach people rather than go out in the streets and yell at them for disagreeing. I wholeheartedly, I have a post on this. I do believe protest is a valid form of political movement. It's a valid tactic when it's needed. But currently right now, where you're just both sides are guilty of this. One side I think is more, of course, I have my biases. I lean left, I'm supportive of the Black Lives Matter. I believe they are more justified, those that actually have a valid reason for being there. The right is fear-mongering the hell out of this. You know, Antifa, communist bloc that come in, they're coming to destroy the country. Okay, whatever. Garbage. Nothing. That is pure rhetoric. That is pure fear-mongering. We need to have a discussion of why people are rioting, why people are doing these things, and how do we fix that? Or their motivation's valid? How do we fix it? We don't need to be telling people that they're just communists coming to the country, because that's absolutely ridiculous. Are there anarchists and communists within that? Yeah. Could they have valid arguments against institutional racism while also not being there to overthrow the country? Absolutely. What I'm trying to get around is this we're very, very bipartisan. People didn't boo because they're overtly racist. Let's throw that out the window. Number 1, that's invalid. I think you are actually virtue signaling when you do that. Let's get out of that. Let's talk about actual facts. Okay? The people that were booing either, in my opinion, don't understand, but don't think it's valid, and we're going to continue to debate this. We have to continue and fight this because I think the evidence is clearly there. I think most people are just simply uneducated in this matter. But if you disagree, please have a discussion with me. This is what I want this to be. Discussion. And sometimes protests for 100 days, they're going to bother people. They're going to bother people, and especially when it looks like the movement is scattered and has accomplished anything. Some of the moves have been more radical. Some of the, defund the police is totally valid, but completely dismantle the police, not going to happen in this country. Defunding, they've not been clear. Their tactics have been all over the place. it's a mess. It's a mess, and we really need to slow down. Everyone needs to take a step back, and we don't need to be booing people who are having a peaceful protest. That's how you start riots also. So when people protest and simply sit in a moment of solidarity, they have a moment of silence, that's peaceful. That's doing no harm. You can disagree with them. We can have that discussion somewhere else. Don't boo them, because then it seems like you're ignoring them, and you're ignoring valid issues. I believe they're valid. You're ignoring valid issues. Then they're going to resort to other means, and then those means are perfectly valid. But it seems like these protests really started off violent, and they had started off quite violent. Look, I'm a mixed bag. I think there's a time for violence against property. Depending on the property, not small businesses. No. You don't touch small businesses. So I'm all over the place. I am really all over the place right now. I just wanted to get that out. That was my main focus. I wanted to be like, take a step back, because it's not. Everyone's not overtly racist. Most of the time, there's this disagreement about institutional racism, and we need to just teach people about institutional racism and revalidate our tactics, because it's seeming to show that this isn't working, and I don't think it started off right in the first place. That's a whole different argument. I just wanted to address this content. I think that was important. Either way. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you had a good time. Sorry I'm all over the place. If you have a comment, if you have anything to say, please argue with me. Give me something. I'm happy to talk about this. Let's have a discussion. Let's have conversations. Let's stop pushing people to go out and riot. Let's do this the right way. Let's stop with the rhetoric. These are not people wanting to destroy the country. These are people wanting to make a better country. All right? So, thank you. Signing off. Hope you join me in the next video. Peace.